Welcome back to the channel. We are about to dive into the top 10 street gangs in the United States. But before we do, please like and subscribe. At number 10 we have the Vice Lords. They're one of the oldest and most notorious street and prison gangs in Chicago. With a long and storied history that dates back to the 1950s, their influence has spread far beyond the city limits. They've been involved in all sorts of criminal activities over the years. They're a fascinating gang with a complex history, and there's a lot to unpack when it comes to their story. At number 9, we have the Black P Stones, often abbreviated as BPS. The P Stones are a well-known and formidable street gang that originated in Chicago's South Side. They have a long and complex history that dates back to the 1950s. They've been involved in various criminal activities such as extortion, drug dealing, and political activism. The BPS has a fascinating evolution, as they were originally formed as the Blackstone Rangers, then transformed into the El Ruckns, and eventually became the almighty Black P Stone Nation. They're known to be fierce rivals of the Vice Lords and one of the largest gangs in the city. The BPS story really highlights the gritty reality of gang life in Chicago. At number 8 we have MS-13. This prominently Mexican gang is one of the most notorious gangs in the U.S., known for its ruthless violence and criminal activities. They have a wide network that stretches from California to Long Island. They've been responsible for countless murders, assaults, and other heinous crimes. Just recently there's been news about 7 alleged MS-13 members who were indicted for a violent gang assault and kidnapping in Suffolk County, New York. The gang's actions are incredibly troubling, and they become a major focus for law enforcement over the years. At number 7 we have the Mickey Cobras, a significantly known street gang in the Chicago area. They've been known to be affiliated with the larger People Nation Alliance, which means they're considered a people gang. The Cobras have been around for some time, but they often fly under the radar, compared to more notorious gangs like the MS-13 or the Vice Lords. They still engage in violent and criminal activities as part of the ongoing gang war in Chicago. How these gangs operate makes them small criminal empires in their own right. At number 6 we have the Sureños. When we're talking about gangs in California, you can't overlook the Sureños, who are one of the most infamous gangs in the state. They're essentially a collection of smaller Hispanic gangs that are loosely affiliated. They're known for their blue bandanas and their fierce rivalry with the Norteños gang. The Sureños are heavily involved in drug trafficking, extortion, and other violent activities. They're considered a major threat to the communities they operate in. They also have a deep history in the streets of Los Angeles. At number 5 we have the Black Disciples. The BDs have an intense and complicated backstory that goes back to the 1960s. What started as a merger between two rival gangs to form a larger and more powerful organization eventually led to a split, giving rise to both the Gangster Disciples and the Black Disciples. Their rivalry is well known and has led to some of the most violent gang wars in Chicago history. The BDs are one of the largest and most notorious gangs in the city, known for their violent history and notorious reputation. Gangs have been a part of Chicago culture for a long time, and the Black Disciples are a big part of that story. At number 4 we have the Norteños. They're a notorious gang with a heavy presence in California, Utah, and Nevada, among other places. The Norteños have been making headlines recently for their involvement in gang-related violence and other criminal activities, so it seems like they're definitely a gang to be aware of. It's wild how these gangs can operate not just in one city or state, but across the entire country, and how their rivalries can lead to so much bloodshed and destruction. At number 3 we have the Bloods, one of the most notorious gangs in Los Angeles. Their history is as fascinating as it is violent. The Bloods were formed in the 1970s as a response to the Crips, another notorious LA gang. They were made up of several smaller gangs that felt threatened by the Crips. These gangs formed an alliance and eventually became known as the Bloods. By the late 1970s, there were already 15 blood sets operating in Los Angeles. Their rivalry with the Crips led to some of the most violent gang wars in the city's history. At number 2 we have the Gangster Disciples. The GDs are one of the largest and most notorious gangs in the United States, with a history dating back to the 1960s. The GDs have a notorious reputation for their involvement in organized crime, violence, and drugs. Interestingly, the GDs were formed as a union between two rival gang leaders, which only goes to show how powerful their alliance was. The GDs are known for their six-point star symbol and their deep roots in Chicago. They managed to maintain their power and influence for a long time, multiplying their ranks and having heavy influence in Chicago. Before we get to number 1, please like and subscribe. At number 1, we have the Crips, one of the most well-known gangs in the USA. They've got a deep and fascinating history, starting with their formation in the late 1960s by Raymond Washington in south-central Los Angeles. The Crips started out as a small local gang, but they quickly grew, growing into a powerful criminal organization with a deep-rooted presence in Los Angeles. Their signature color of blue is the most recognizable gang signs in the country. It's truly incredible how a single gang can have such a far-reaching impact on a city's culture. If you like the channel, please like and subscribe.